rocking any bald spots yet? I hope not. I guess we'll find out. Hello there everyone, Chris Hayes for Sickness to Strength. This is day number 2, workout number 2 of Operation Fat Thor. So, again, please remember guys, these workouts are designed specifically for me, so please don't use the weights that I do. If you need to modify or adjust the movements as we go along and we do things, by all means do that. I'm gonna try and give you an alternative to all the motions that I do if I feel like it's necessary for you to reproduce them and you may not have access to the equipment that I have. So just look for that in the video as we proceed along. I may also put in possibilities for supersets if it's something where you want to try and condense your workouts in, you want to try and get this thing knocked out in under an hour or under an hour and a half if you really feel like you move slow, or if you feel like you're in a good enough space where you can definitely put some of these things back to back. So look out for that in the video as this comes along. All right, today is going to be a posterior chain focused day. So again, what that means is if we divide the body in half, anterior being the front side, posterior being the back side, right? So with that, we're going to be working and focusing in on glute and hamstrings. We're going to be focusing in on back, and we're also going to focus in on triceps. And while we did just hit some of those muscle groups, maybe in a major way, in a minor way yesterday as well, the way we like to do this is that I get 2 touches on these muscle groups over the course of basically a 48-hour period. Tomorrow is going to be either a metabolic conditioning day or a rest day. Tomorrow it's looking like we're probably going to be doing more of a metabolic conditioning day as long as I'm feeling good and I'm feeling up to it and I don't need to take the rest. We'll just have to see what that looks like tomorrow. But on that note, again, focusing in on glute, hamstrings, back, and triceps are going to be our major muscle groups that we're using. Obviously, we're still working on scapular stability and some other things that go along with that. Core will still be mixed in as always. So, major movements for today are going to be the Romanian deadlift. We're going to be looking at bent over rows, and dips are going to be our primary movement that we're going to be doing for all the major muscle groups, okay? So now when we look at the minor muscle groups, we're going to be doing a few different things. One of them is going to be a stability ball, gym ball, bridge to curl. That way we can focus on getting a concentric motion for the hamstrings as well, along with some glute activation and some neurological patterning, which I may talk about when I go through that in the video. Some of the other accessory motions that we're going to be doing as well is just going to be single arm tricep kickbacks with a band, lat pull downs. We're going to do a banded variant, so hopefully you guys have access to those. If not, easy enough, hop on Amazon. You can rig something up pretty easily for that. Our core motions for today are going to be wood choppers, so we're going to be going high to low, and we're also going to be going low to high. I'm going to be doing a kneeling variant for low to high because I actually have a little bit of a groin issue just from some lifting and a previous injury. So it's a really good rehabilitative exercise for me to isolate and stabilize side to side as well. So that being said, let's see if we missed anything. We are going to add in rear delt flies as well, just to get a little bit of targeted isolation in the shoulders on top of that. Cardio for today, again, is going to be 20 minutes on the assault bike. Got out, hit the links a little bit yesterday, got some sun, wound up getting around 16 or 17,000 steps. So the pacing is going to be a little bit more low to moderate for that today. Again, sets and repetitions are going to be 3 sets of 12. And we want our intensity to be somewhere around 60 to 75%. So, that being said, day number 2, let's get after it.
Starting off with the Romanian deadlift and an optional superset with tricep kickbacks. So, first things we want to focus in on, feet should be shoulder width apart. Hands are going to be just about thumbs width outside of your hips. We're hip hinging back and sitting heavy into our glutes and actually pulling ourselves up through our heels. That bar pass should track right along the shins. So now notice here, going into bad form, you can see when I pause here, we have that rounding in the back, rounding in the shoulders, and some extension in the cervical spine. We want to avoid all of these things because these are the commonplace things that you see in the gym and most likely to lead to some sort of overuse injury or injury in the low back, the neck, the shoulders, things like that. So back to good form, weight should be loaded back on the heels. You'll notice a good strong snap through and follow through with the glutes and the hips at the top. And then right here, I'm just trying to showcase a nice stable base at the shoulders and a relatively right where that hand positioning should be, and play with that to find the best comfort level and position for you. Now on to bent over row, optional superset with wood choppers. Feet should be about shoulder width apart. I want to hold about a half to third of a squat, and a good stable base in my heels. Abs should be contracted. I'm pulling through my lats, and you'll see a good strong contraction in my mid back at that top range. Now going into bad form and showcasing again what we were just talking about with the rounding in the upper back and lower back, and then just how that affects the shoulder positioning and the strain at the shoulders, the neck, and the low back. Those are all things we want to avoid. So again, back to good form, and you can see that finishing position is nice and strong in the mid back. I'm really trying to bring my scaps together at the top. And then just to finish off, just showcasing how I find my hand form, and I'm generally just outside of my hips. You should play with the positioning that you find comfortable and that works best for you. Next we have dips, optional superset with banded lat pull down. So when we're doing dips, it's really easy to get too much stress up into the shoulders, and that generally comes with being too tall vertically. So first thing that you want to do is actually drop your chest out. When I get to the base, again, I'm still trying to squeeze my scaps together at the base of that motion. Then I'm trying to drive up and get full extension at the top. You also notice my base position at the bottom is about 90 degrees. Try not to stretch it too much further one way or another, and keep that chest out. Next we've got tricep kickbacks. So again, good stable positioning in the hips. I'm trying to keep my shoulders open, and you'll notice I'm actually using my other hand as a tactile cue to tell me if that shoulder is rotating forward throughout the movement. The other things we want to focus in on is I want that elbow nice and high, as close to 90 degrees as I can get. And then I'm really just focusing on getting a good strong contraction at that extension and in range. You can finish or play with your finishing position a little bit by rotating your hand. So play around with that. Other than that, good strong contraction and control the eccentric. On to banded lat pull downs. You'll notice at that in range, I'm really trying to get a big stretch at the top, and I want a good stable base, just like I did with the deadlift and also a squat, right? Good stable base through the hips. Trying to hold that stable squat position. So notice here though as well that I'm getting that big extension at the top, and my finishing position, I'm actually trying to make sure that I get my scaps back and down. So the best way to do this with a band is really focus on letting that band come out slow and getting good eccentric work done throughout the motion. That way you can really build those lats. Now we're on to wood choppers. We're gonna go high to low and low to high as well. So main thing I want to focus in on, again, good stable base in the shoulders and mid back, but I'm trying to go from shoulder to hip while not allowing my hips to overly rotate. I want those hips pointed forward the entire time. Good strong contraction and stabilization through the trunk as you go. The kneeling variant is great for hip and groin stability, so really taking your time and focusing on staying strongly contracted through the trunk. And again, I don't want a ton of rotation, just trying to focus on being stable and really letting that eccentric work happen on the way back in as well. Next, we're on to the rear delt fly. So drop your chest forward. I like to do this on a bench, and I'm looking for a big, strong contraction in the mid back, bringing those scaps together. And I'm actually focusing on pulling through my rear delts. I'm not focused on generating any sort of momentum, just a nice, strong pull through the back of those shoulders and contraction at the top, and then as much control on the way in as you possibly can get. Lastly, we've got the stability ball bridge to curl. So a few of the basic things we want to focus in on here is that I want a good strong contraction out of the glutes at the top, and I want to be stable all the way throughout the motion. Now, one of the important things about this movement is that we're actually creating a neurological pattern from the brain down to the body, teaching you how to engage and disengage your glutes and hamstrings and get them to work in concert. So really focus on separating those pieces, getting the strong contraction out of the glutes, then initiating that pull through the hamstrings, and then control both ways. So, not an overly complicated movement, but make sure you're stable throughout. And I promise you, this one will burn for sure.
All right, guys. Day 2, workout number 2 is in the books. Everything went good overall. Definitely a little bit weaker in the hamstrings and my back than I was when we were going into this quarantine, but that's totally okay. We're not about trying to push too hard at this point. So everything felt pretty good. Didn't feel like I was making any major compensations on anything at this point. I did feel a little bit bound up in the hips, but that's something that we'll address. I'm definitely planning on doing some videos that are targeted more on purely corrective type of issues that the majority of us are going to be struggling with, especially because we're spending a lot more time on the couch, eating Funyuns, Chinese food, and drinking beer. So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the workout. If you are deciding to follow along, please moderate, change, scale back the weight, do whatever you think is appropriate. If a lift doesn't feel right, chances are it isn't right. Please follow the guidelines and the instructions and the coaching and the things that I set up for you, and just the cues that I give to you, so that hopefully you can do this in the most safe and effective way possible, so we can minimize injury risk as much as possible. Other than that, guys, hope you guys are doing well. Please take care of yourself mentally and physically. Stay up, stay strong. The war goes on.